Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf. BECHOROS Daf Nun Ches. We begin 5 lines from the top of the Amud. So back to our discussion of the Mishnah yesterday, that min ha-Torah, technically you can take all those sheep and goats born within this year, corral them together, combine them into one Maser Behema process. But midrabanan, they established 3 separate time zones. We call them 3 Geronos. And once that time arrives, you have to stop from selling, from consuming those newborn animals until you do the Maser Behema. And these 3 Zman, these 3 times, coincide with the Yom Tovim. And the point was to ensure that there will be adequate supply of behemos for the Eidei Regalim visiting Yerushalayim, for consumption, for Hakrava. Because that's why it's called Geirin, as the Gemara concluded yesterday. Because just like the Geirin, which is the granary containing the grain, that grain is tevel, is off limits until you do the Truma of the Maser. In similar fashion, Chacham forbade us from tapping into these new offspring until you do the once the Geirin arrives, once it's Zman arrives, you have to stop short, do the Maser Behema, and then you can tap into it. So what are the Geronos? We have several opinions in the Mishnah. The first of which was Rabbi Akiva, who puts it like this. First one is Befrois HaPesach, in advance of Pesach, Ubefrois HaAtzeres, and then Befrois HaChag. What does Prois mean? Prois typically means half. Well, what's going on? How many days is this? V'kama Prois. How much in advance of Pesach is the Prois? Pirush Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda. Ein Prois, or Pras, right? Pachos M'tesvav Yom. No less than 15 days. My mashma. How do you see that in Prois? Amar Avo. Prois palga mashma. Prois means half, right? Like a prusa, like a slice. Like achilas pras. Right? Time it takes a person to eat half a loaf of bread, a loaf which contains 2 meals worth of bread, half of which is a meal's worth. So you have to eat your matzah, your kazais within that meal's worth of time to be considered one eating experience. So pras means half. But again, half of what? Prois palga de mai, palga de Pesach. Oh, it's half of that preparation period in advance of Pesach, where you study the halachas of Pesach to prepare for the Yom Tov, which is a 30-day time period, half of which is 15 days. Kal Desanis, we find in a Brisa, She'alon V'Darshan, Hilchas Pesach, Kedem Pesach Lamed Yom. You meant to get involved and study Hilchas Pesach before Kedem Pesach Lamed Yom, 30 days, half of which is Prois. That's what he meant. Half of this 30-day period, i.e., 15 days to Pesach, is when the Geirin arrives. Rabban Shimon Leimer says you don't need 30 days, but Pir Shtei Shabbos is 2 weeks is enough. So in any case, we clearly understand Rabbi Akiva's opinion. The Shalish Geronos L'Maser Behema fall out on the 15-day period before Pesach, the 15-day mark before Sukkot, Shavuos, and Sukkot. But Nazai takes a slight issue. He says not Prois HaPesach. Let's give it a definite identity point. Let's give it a date. But Nazai Omer b'Chavtes Ba'adar. Instead of 15 days to Pesach, he calls it 29 of Adar, which is pretty much one and the same. And regarding the second Geirin, Bechad B'Sivan, instead of 15 days to Shavuos, just a couple of days to Shavuos. And on the third, he calls it Chavtes Ba'av. Let's zero in on the first Machlekes. Tanakama says Prois HaPesach, 15 days to Pesach. He pegs it based on the day count, and Benazai works based on the calendar date. Chavtes Ba'av. But what's Machlekes about? They seem to be pretty much saying one and the same thing. But Ma'ika Miflegi Rabbi Akiva ben Azza answers the Gemara. There's no real conceptual machlokes regarding the Geirin, the Zman of the Geirin. They both hold it's 15 days to Pesach. However, Rabbi Akiva's Savar, it relates to another discussion regarding the arrangement of the calendars. Rabbi Akiva's Savar, he holds you should know that the Adar, Samach Nisan, the Adar which is next to Nisan, sometimes you have two Adars, so the one next to Nisan is a fluctuating month in terms of its length. Sometimes it's a 30-day month, sometimes 29. There's no way to peg it based on the date, because it's a fluctuating entity. Zimna and Molech, sometimes it's a full month. Zimna and Chasar, sometimes a short month. Zimna and Mikul B'Gem Lamed, so sometimes this 15-day in advance of Pesach mark falls out on B'Gem Lamed, the 30th day of Adar, if it's a 30-day month. And sometimes it's a short month, it's going to be 29. Zimna and Mikul B'Chav Tes, that's why he doesn't give it a date. Doesn't peg it based on the calendar. He simply says 15 days to Pesach, we'll never figure it out. Uben Azai Savar says no. It's a pretty predictable arrangement here. Adar Hasamach Nisan Leilam Chaser. The Adar is always a missing month, so you know it's going to be on 29. Hilgach Kvil Zman. There's an established Zman that 15 days to Pesach is day 29 of Adar. So keep it clear and simple. Next point was, instead of 15 days to Shavuos, it's Be'echad B'Sivan. Now why, when it comes to Shavuos, does he make it so close to Yom Tov? Be'echad B'Sivan, he says, I did lo nefishi, since it's very short, just merely a 7-week period between Pesach and Shavuos. Not very much happening on the farm. It's such a short time. There isn't very much supply at that point. Newborn animals between Pesach and Shavuos. Yamars liktim eliyasa. If you're going to advance the Maser as much as you did by Pesach to 2 weeks before Shavuos, you're dealing with a small supply to begin with of this new, batch, and now you're going to start eating it and start consuming it. By the time Shavuos rolls around, you're not going to have very much left. Ad the Mati Regel, until the Yom Tov arrives, Sham Yud, you're going to be done with this supply. So better move it closer to Shavuos. Start the process then. Open the gate to the new crop, which will ensure adequate supply for the Yom Tov. Chotes B'Av. Third Zman is 29 of Av. Why specifically that date? Because Ben Azai Tamei, Ben Azai is consistent with this view. The Amaru says, he's not sure when the start of the year is. When is Rosh Hashanah regarding Maser Behema? Is it beginning of Elul, like Reb Meir in the Mishnah? Is it the beginning of Tishrei, like the other opinion? Right, like Lezer Shimon, right? He's not sure. So that's why he puts Elul in its own category. Anyone born in Elul gets its own Maser Behema. You can't combine it with any other year because you don't know. Maybe the year starts Elul or it ends Elul, right? So you don't know which year it relates to. That's why the animals born in Elul get their own Maser. And that explains why the last garden of the year falls out right before Elul, day before Elul, to keep it separate from the Elul product. Ask the Gemara of Lisrin B'Yem Lamed. Lisrin B'Yem Lamed, why specifically 29? Why not on the 30th day of Av? Because Av is sometimes a 30-day month. So why not wait until the last day? The answer is, it's not for sure. Zimna de Mechasrin Leilav. Sometimes Av is a short month. And the 30th is really Rosh Chodesh Elul. So now you're encroaching on Elul, which is a problem. Why? Because you want to keep Elul separate, distinct, and unique. Right? So that you highlight its uniqueness and being separate from the rest of the year. So you don't mistakenly mix up the crop of Elul and Av, right? You want it to be clear, distinctive. between the new crop and the old crop. So your safest bet is to steer clear of Elul, and likewise day 30 of Av, which might turn into Elul. Now Rashi points out, of course, even if day 30 would be Rosh Chodesh Elul, I mean, right now there's nothing available to get mixed up, because even the newborns, the ones that were born today, are not eligible. You wouldn't put it into the pen, it's so early, it's not a week old. But you want to keep it conceptually separate, so people don't get things confused and, mistakenly believe you can mix up the new and the old. The Av and the El. So you keep the Av and El, and you keep the Gurin at a safe distance from Elul, which is the 29th day of Av. Now comes another opinion. Reb Lezer, Reb Shimon Omer, Be'echad ben Nisan, which is very close to the previous opinions, except it's one day closer to Pesach. Instead of 15 days to Pesach, it's only 2 weeks to Pesach. Then they say Be'echad b'Sivan, which is exactly as the previous Shita of Ben Azai, keep it close to Shavuos. And the third Zman is 29 of Elul, because according to them, the new year regarding Masamim begins Echad b'Tishrei. Okay, so the Gemara explains. Be'echad b'Nisan, why? K'dam Shimon Liel. Damar Beis Shabbos. He says the time allotted for studying the laws of Pesach, you don't need 30 days, it's 2 weeks. So it's considered sort of, leading into Pesach, and that's when you do the Gurin to ensure supply for Pesach. So 2 weeks is a reasonable time period, distinctive time period, the time that you prepare for Pesach. Be'echad b'Sivan, why so close to Shavuot Damar? As we explained, because you're dealing to begin with a short supply. So keep it as close to Shavuos as possible, to ensure some leftover for the Eile Regel. Chavtes be'Elul. Why? Because they hold Be'echad b'Tishrei Sheshalom Aser Behema. First day of Tishrei begins the new year, so the old crop has to be attended to a day earlier. And the Mishnah actually asks, so why now? Why not Echad b'Tishrei? Why not the next day? Good to Yom Tov. Ask the Gemara. Aside from that, it's a new year. You want to keep things distinct and separate. Let it be based on a more simple reason. You have to make it noticeable, recognizable. Regarding the seasons, you want to keep them separate. You don't want to do Maser Behema from last season when it's already the new year, which might lead to some misunderstanding and confusion, lest people erroneously conclude that you could mix 2 seasons. So why resort to the question of Malacha of Yom Tov, because you're slapping it with the red paint and doing Malach? Chadavad Kamar. You're right. It's one reason on top of the other. Chada, a basic reason is the Beinul Mevad Aker b'Chodesh V'Yashim want to keep the season separate. But furthermore, because painting the animal red is a malacha, Mishum Neshu Yom Tov, it's Rosh Hashanah. V'yev Shal Aser b'Yom Tov, Mishum Sikros, you can't do it on Yom Tov because of that red paint. Rav Meir Imer Be'echad be'Elul. Rosh Hashanah Maser Behema. Now we shift to another question. So we discussed the 3 opinions regarding the granis. Tanakama says, Praise HaPesach, Praise HaTzeres, Praise HaChag. That's Rabbi Akiva. Ben Azai says 29 of Adar. That's a calendar-based discussion. Echad b'Sivan, close to Shavuos, and 29 of Av, because he holds that the Elul has to be kept separate. Then we have Rav Shimon who say Aleph b'Nisan, because that's the 2-week period to Pesach. Al b'Sivan, to keep it close to Shavuos, and 29 of Elul, because that's the last day of the season. Okay, so they clearly hold that the Rosh Hashanah from Maser Behema is considered Echad b'Tishrei. Rameir says no, Echad be'Elul is Rosh Hashanah Maser Behema. And Ben Azai says, I'm not sure. So leave Elul out in limbo. Rameir be'Echad be'Elul Rosh Hashanah Maser Behema. Ben Azai Omer, I want to keep the Elul separate. Tanya. Or Ben Azai, let me explain to you. On the one hand, you have these saying, Rosh Hashanah is Echad be'elul, and here they say Echad be'av, right? I'm not sure which way to go. And therefore I say, play it safe. Ha'alulin. The ones born during Elul, mis'asrin la'atzmin, they get their own maser. You don't combine them with any year, not prior and not post. Ask the Gemara, well, let's tell me the man mistaver. Why leave it hanging? Why not delve into the opinions and come to your own conclusion based on the opinion that you deem to be right? Perhaps Nazi didn't have the ability to delve so deeply into come to his own conclusion. But Tanya, we have a brisa. Actually, Ben Azai said about himself, Ben Azai Omer Kol Chachmei Yisrael, all the scholars of Yisrael, Doimer Alaya, compared to me, Keklipas Hashum, insignificant like the skin of a garlic. So basically, he has the ability to analyze and to delve. Except for this one here. Oh, I couldn't beat. So basically, why couldn't he just figure it out on his own? It wasn't something that was figure-outable. It wasn't something which they just, it wasn't something logical they can analyze. It was something that was brought down by tradition. Chagai, based on the Nevi'im, Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi. So each one had their own Kabbalah, their own tradition in terms of what Rosh Hashanah was, and it was handed down from prior generations. The Nevi'im, Chagai, so it wasn't something that he can take issue with. Now, who's this Chacham that he's singling out for honorable mention? Karech Hazeh. So Taisus brings that it's actually Rabbi Akiva. Famous Rabbi Akiva, right? And his son was Rabbi Shua, who in the Gemara is called Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. So apparently it's one and the same person. Rabbi Akiva was bald, Kareach, and Rabbi Shua ben Karcha is the son of Rabbi Akiva. So Chutz min Kareach Hazeh, he was singling out Rabbi Akiva, him I can't beat. Now, Taisus has an issue with that. He says, why would he refer to him as Lashon Ganai, and dishonorable, reference? Kareach Hazeh we find in Melachim Beis, Alei Kareach, baldy, get up. It's not a very nice way to refer to somebody. Rabbi Nissim learns as Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Damar Yerushalmi Shei Kareach. Some explain because he was, when he was appointed as a Nasi at a very young age, he didn't have a full-grown beard, so it was like bald. I mean, he wasn't fully grown, so it's actually a complimentary term. Look what kind of great status he already had when he wasn't even of age. Rabbi Tam learns very simply, Kareach is a person. Kareach, right? Name of a person. Not Rabbi Akiva, it's a different person. It's interesting to note that, in the first text of Tosfos, he learns that Kareach is Rabbi Akiva, as we find a Tana by the name of Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, who was Rabbi Shua, the son of Rabbi Akiva. The Chidah brings, he quotes the Arizal and Shar HaGilgulim. He says, no, it can't be. He says, I saw them both. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha and Rabbi Shua ben Akiva, two different people. Whether he saw them in person or in a vision or in a dream, I'm not sure, but he says they're two different people. It can't be one and the same person. So he veers away from that pshat. Okay, in any case, so we have Ben Azai's opinion. Keep things separate to avoid any confusion. Tanya. Beizatzad. Beizatzad is long form for Ketzad. We have Ketzad many times in the Mishnayos and the Gemara. Ketzad is Kezatzad. In what way? In which way? In which manner? Beizatzad. Amar Ben Azai. Ha'olulim is asrun la'atzman. So how does it play out, this idea of keeping the Elul ones separate? As follows: No deloy heiba av veheiba Elul. He has 5 new animals from Av, 5 new from Elul. You can't combine them. Emet starfim, because perhaps Elul is the next year. Likewise, heiba Elul, heiba Tishrei emet starfim. You have 5 born during Elul, 5 in Tishrei. You can't combine them because perhaps Elul was the last year. Heiba Tishrei. But if you have 5 born this year, Tishrei, and 5 at the end of this year, which is Av, certainly you can combine them together because Either way, it's one in the same year. Pshita, of course. I mean, why even discuss such a simple case? Magatema, the chiddush is, I would think, just like animals born in different years cannot be combined. Mafsaki granis, perhaps those born during different time frames within the year, correlating to the 3 granis in the Rabbanan, they cannot be combined together. Kamashwan, the point is yes, as we learned in the Mishnah, Kedisnan, Chamish Lefnei Rosh Hashanah, 5 born before the actual Rosh Hashanah, V'chamish and 5 more after L'achar Rosh Hashanah. You can't combine different seasons. This is Chadash, this is Yashin. But the Geirin doesn't have the same effect. Chamish Lefnei Geirin, Chamish L'achar Geirin, Harim Mitzdarf. Av Amarav. Ben Azai. Here comes an interesting riddle according to Ben Azai, who keeps the Elul separate. No duli chamisha b'av. You had 5 from Av. Chamisha b'Elul, 5 from Elul. And again, Elul can go either way. It can either belong to Av, perhaps it belongs to a Tishrei, but not sure. Chamisha b'Tishrei, 5 in Tishrei. Total of 15. Bingo, Maser Behema. Why? Kointzon l'edilis Aser takes all 15 to the pen for Maser Behema. Because either way, whichever way you look at it, he has 10 that are chayiv. If Elul belongs to Av, so Av and Elul is 10. If Elul belongs to Tishrei, so Elul Tishrei is 10. Return to the base. V'noitel, and which one is going to pick out for Maser Behema? Has to be one from the Elul, which covers him either way. V'noitel echad ben alulim. V'ashar p'tur, and the rest is pater. Either way it's pater. Why? Because if the year starts Elul, the Elul of Tishrei mitzvah, the 5 of Elul and 5 of Tishrei go together. The upturn, the ones from Av Pater, it's only 5. It's not a minyan. If Rosh Hashanah begins Tishrei, then it switches around. The Av Elul mitzvah and the 5 of Elul and 5 of Elul go together, and the Tishrei turn, the ones of Tishrei are Pater. My Amris, what can you still suggest? At the 5 of Tishrei, although it's only 5, but wait it out until you have more, and you complement the minyan, when you get to the next juncture in the year, and then you have a Maser Behema. You can't do that, because perhaps they were already exempted. And the Torah says, you got to pick out number 10, definitively number 10. Asiri Vadai Am Rachmana. Not when it's a suffix. So you can't even go l'chumrah, right? Because maybe these 5 had already been exempted. Okay, so now you just let them go. Says Rav Pshita, well, of course. I mean, it's a pretty simple equation. What's Rabbah teaching us? That they're chayiv, memanavshech, and you have to pick out the El. Perhaps I can speculate not to do this. Ligzar, because there might be a concern. Yeah, he's supposed to pick out the El, but he might mistakenly pick out the other ones. Dilma Asal Mishkal Mahanik might take from the other ones. Kamash, the point is we're not concerned, he'll be careful and do it right. Now, Rashi comments on the top line. It says Noitel Echad Malul, and he picks out specifically the El one. How could you do that? Pasuk says you can't play favorites. Lo Yivakir Ben Tevel Ra. You can't choose which one comes out from Maser. So he says, we're speaking that he didn't actually run them through the gate, the way he's supposed to. In which case he would not be able to manipulate it. Rather, we're talking that they're just sitting and stationary, they're lying in place, which we're going to see in the next Mishnah. You can do Maser Behema like that as well. And this way you can choose which one. Taisa says the whole issue is not really an issue, because Lo Yivakir is only when you choose a Baal Mum. When the one is blemished, you can choose one over the other. But here, they're all okay. There's nothing inherently blemished. It's just that you're picking the one from El, that's okay. Okay, so let's recap the Gemara until this point. Chachamim established 3 granis corresponding to 3 Yom Tovim. We have 3 opinions in terms of these precise dates of those granis, which took us into another question regarding the exact Zman of Rosh Hashanah for Maser Behema. We have Rosh Hashanah either being Tishrei, right? Just like Rosh Hashanah for us, right? One of the members of the Shir, Rabbi Shulman, added an interesting twist. He says perhaps it's a point of inspiration, right? To keep mindful that on Rosh Hashanah, right, we pass through in front of our Maker, right? Kivnei Moran, right? I mean, we like the animals going through the under the shepherd's, count. So it's a chizuk for us to be mindful of our actions, to keep the focus, keep the eye on the prize, right? So that's a shayla. When does Maser Behema start? Either Echad B'Tishrei, Echad Elul. Renaz is not sure, so he keeps the Elul separate. And we found a way to do the Maser Behema, even if it's a couple during Elul, and a couple during Av, and a couple during Tishrei, as per Rava's instructions. Okay, so we spoke about which animals are obligated in Maser Behema, when to do Maser Behema, and how do you go about it? What's the process? Says the Mishnah. Be'ezet tzad, and some switch it to ketzah. Masran, what's the process in doing the Maser Behema? Koinson ladir, all on the pen, let's go. Va'islam pesach katan, and he has over there a small gate, just big enough for a single file, for one at a time. Kadei shelo yushnayim yichon latziskeach, you don't have two popping out at the same time, and he counts them. Umoina, the shevet, says the Bach, with this staff, he's counting 1, 2, umoinen, aleph, beis, gimel, daled, hey, vav, zayin, ches, tes, and then comes number 10. The one and only 10, vayetze asir, the one that comes out number 10, soike besikra, slaps it with a red paint, vaymer, and he declares it as maser, he's a maser. Now let's say he didn't do it this way. He didn't use the paint. He didn't count it with a stick. He counted them just sitting in place. Oyem was standing without coming through the gate. Hare elu mu'usarin. It still works. Fact is, he counted them. Hayloi meya v'nat l'asara. Asara v'nat l'echad. Ein zeh maser. Let's say he didn't count. He knows he has 100, he took out 10. He knows he has 10, he took out 1. But he didn't count. He didn't get to 10. In terms of numbers. Ein zeh maser, doesn't work. Rabbi said, maser, even separating a 10th works, as we can see in the Gemara. Okay, so he's counting them out, 1, 2, 3, and one of the counted ones, kafats, jump back into the corral. Kafats, echad, v'naminu l'toichan, they're all pater, because once he was counted, he becomes exempted. That's it, he's done. So now we have a mix. All kinds. Some that have not been counted, and some that have. They're all pater, as we said before, because it's a suffix. Since we don't know what's what, they're all pater. Because the one that was counted, even though he wasn't designated as master, that's already considered a status. It's called minyan haroi. Because when he was counted, the numbers could have gotten to the completion, could have gotten to number 10. So anybody that took part in that count becomes exempted. What about min hamusar l'teicha? He got to 10, he designated the maser behema, and that one jumped back in. So one of the masters, min hamusar l'teicha, again, kulam, now you have a mix between master and regular. Kulam yirachi stabu, so you have to let them all graze until they get a blemish. They only eat them once they're blemished, because on account of the maser it's in. Tanarabban, we have a rice. So Be'ezet tzad, maser. How does it go about doing the maser? Koisel ladir. He collects them into the pen. Va'isel and pesach katan. He has this little doorway through which they leave. Kadei shelo yushnayim yochel latzaskecha. So it's not 2 at a time. He has the mothers of these offspring standing outside, drawing the kids out. Ve'imefnim and the offspring on the inside. Ve'goyes. And they call out to the mothers. Ve'etzes l'kros ima, and they rush out to the mothers. So they're meant to leave naturally, without manipulation. Why not? Why doesn't he just force them out? Why do you have to have the mother standing outside? The pasuk says they walk out on their own, as opposed to being let out. Okay, why the mothers? Just put some greenery, and we'll attract them. They'll run out to the greenery. Technically that works, but Rabbanan, we want the mothers there to ensure that he's not going to be doing maser behema with a purchased animal, or a yasam who's missing his mother, which are exempt from maser behema. So to ensure that these animals are proper animals, born in house with mothers, Chacham instructed us to have the mother standing outside. This way we're mindful of the proper process. Tanarabban, any animal that can pass under the staff, as opposed to a treifa who's missing its legs. One of the treifas is a missing leg, which can't pass through. A treifa is exempt. Tachas shevet tells us mitzvah l'mreisim shevet. Ideally, you should have a shevet, a stick as you count. Right? He didn't count it with a stick. Or he counted them, but they were sitting in place. Rather than passing single file through this door, Hasiri was standing in place. But 9, how do we know it works? Hasiri means any type of count, whether passing through or standing or sitting in place. But that's only if he actually called it number 10. Let's say he didn't give it any number. Like how do we know it still works? So Yeh says that even though he didn't actually number it, the fact is he's number 10. And therefore he's Kodesh. The Rosh Hashanah adds, even if he didn't, he just had them come through without saying any numbers. But this is number 10. It's Kodesh. Now, let's say he didn't actually count them out at all. They were just sitting in place. He had 100 in place. But not he took 10. So he never really identified the 10th as 10. He just separated 10 out of 100, which is less than the previous case, where at least he had them come through one at a time. Right? So the 10th one is Kodesh, but here there was no numbering, there was no counting, and there was no order here. He just took 10 out of the 100. Or 1 out of 10. He had 10 sitting, he took 1. Perhaps that also is considered Maser Tamloim Asiri. It has to be 10th. This is not a 10th. It's a 10th to what? Right? It's a 10th of the collective bunch, but it's not number 10. It works, Maser. Even this is considered Maser Behem. My time to Rabbi Yisrael, why? Because he holds Lozer ben Goimel. He holds like this shit. Sanya Lozer ben Goimel Eimer. V'nech shlachem tru maschem. The pasuk here is speaking to the Levim. Now the Levim would get Maser Rishon. So the owner basically gives off the Truma Gedola, which is pretty much like 2% of his crop to the Kayin. Then he gives Maser Rishon 1/10 to the Levi, who then in turn takes 1/10 of that Trumas Maser and gives it to the Kayin. So the pasuk is speaking to the Levim. You get the Truma. And the pasuk refers to 2 trumas there. Your truma that you give to the kohen, and there it says kedagad min hagoren. And Hagoren is the truma that the Yisrael gives to the kohen. So the pasuk is linking together both trumas. B'shtei trumas hakasav madar. The Torah is referring to both trumas. Achas, one is the initial truma gadol that the Yisrael gives to the kohen. V'achas, and the second trumas mas that the Levi gives from his portion to the kohen as well. And we compare the two processes. Because Shem Truma Gedola, just like Truma Gedola, they tell us Ba'emed, separated by estimation. You don't measure, you just estimate, okay, a 50th, a 40th, Umachshava. Even without physically removing it, designating, just contemplating it, designating your mind. Rashi says, yeah, you don't even have to. It says V'nechshav is Machshav. After Trumas Masa, likewise Trumas Masa, given from the Levi to the Kohen, follows the same process. And tell us, Ba'im Machshava can be separated Ba'omed, just simply by estimation, and Machshav. Okay. Knowing that, Umaser Kairach Mana Truma. And likewise, we find that Maser is also labeled as Truma. So the terms are pretty much interchangeable. So the master given by the Yisrael to the Levi is called Truma as well. So now we know that the Torah can relate to master as Truma. So master has similar properties to Truma. And what about master behema? This is grain. We know there's a connection between master behema and master of a grain. Right, we had that pasuk the other day. Yasha brings it. Best master say chem, linking the two types. So we compare. Ma master dagan just like master of grain. You tell him machshava. can be separated by Oimid Machshava, as we explained, Av Maser Behema. Although ideally, you should run him through the door and count him, but if you don't, you just have 10 standing in front of you. You say, okay, this one there is Maser. Av Maser Behema Nitul by Machshava can also work, even though he didn't actually count them out, and that's why he says it's a valid Maser Behema. Okay, so bottom line, ideally they should be in the corral with that little doorway, running out one at a time towards the mother. Count them with the stick. Number 10, you slap with the paint. And let's say he failed to use a stick or the paint to actually even call him out as number 10, just came out as 10th. It's also considered, but if he just simply separates a 10th, one part of 10 from a group of animals, according to talmud-gemara, it doesn't work because it wasn't number 10, according to Rabbi Yehuda. It works similar to the Maser, which can be nitel b'oim v'machshava, simply through mind designation. Okay, that's it for today. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.